Hi guys, I think Boris Johnson's position when it comes to breaking lockdown rules is being reinforced by overtaking events. We have the potential war in Ukraine on the horizon, and this has taken the heat off the Prime Minister. However, Johnson was challenged by a BBC reporter on whether he would resign if he was found guilty of breaking lockdown rules. He resorted to the tired old argument, and the one that's used by his supporters in the Conservative Party and in the media, that he should not attempt to preempt the results of an investigation. This is a cop-out, as he knows the right thing to do when breaking the law is to resign.
It's not something that is being investigated. I'm asking you as a point of principle. You wrote those laws. You told the nation to abide by them. You went on television night after night and told them to abide by them. If you are found to have broken them, broken your own laws,
I understand the
will
question.
you stay in your job?
I understand the question you're raising, but any answer would be interpreted as a point of commentary about the process. I've got to leave.
No, it would not. And what frustrates me about some of these reporters is they don't ask a different type of question. For example, if a member of parliament broke the rules, should they resign? Take Boris Johnson out of the picture. Take him and the role of the Prime Minister out of the picture and ask him the simple question. If an MP broke the rules, should they resign? Then Boris Johnson would have to answer yes or no. If he answered yes, then we'd say, okay, let's move it up a notch. If a minister broke the rules, should they resign? Then he would have to answer yes or no. And you would build the argument up to the point where it's the Prime Minister and he would be left hanging because he would have to try and make some sort of exemption for himself.
It's a matter of principle, surely. It's not a point of commentary.
I've got to leave. You must forgive me. I can't comment about a process that's currently underway, and I won't.
It isn't a process underway. It's something in the future. The police are looking at something that has happened. I'm asking you about something that is in the future, because once the police come back and they tell us what happened and whether or not you broke the law, whether or not you will be fined, at that point you will have to decide.
Nothing would give me greater pleasure than to give you full and detailed answers to all this stuff. I genuinely can't, because we've got a process underway. There is not a jot I can say until it's done.
You can answer it though. I mean, you're choosing not to. It doesn't prejudice anything. The police. There's no jury involved. There's not a court trial. It's the police. It's a process.
And this is a valid point. There isn't a court case ongoing at the moment that Boris Johnson could somehow prejudice. He can answer yes, I should resign if I'm found guilty, or no, I don't have to resign if I'm found guilty.
And you have handed in your questionnaire, so that is done. But you're obviously choosing not to. Were there parties in your flat during lockdown?
Can I just respectfully, humbly, and with all, I can't say anything more about this until the process
You've
is
said
it will be completed.
It will be complete. Okay. Look, I think all of this is a bit pointless because Boris Johnson will not be forced out by the police. He will not be forced out by Sue Gray. He will not be forced out by, I don't know, some sort of conscience. The only way Boris Johnson will be removed is by his backbenchers. It will require them to group en masse, form some sort of opposition to him and force him out. But I think we're not actually going to see that at the moment, because if we use another example to understand how Tories think, Boris Johnson recently issued a slur against the leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer, in the House of Commons. And do you know how many members of the Conservative Party, members of Parliament for the Conservative Party, stood up against Boris Johnson, demanded that he apologise? It was between 10 and 11. 10 and 11 MPs asked Boris Johnson to apologise for issuing a slur, a very dangerous, we saw the consequences of that, against the leader of the opposition. So how many MPs do you think are going to stand up and demand that Boris Johnson resign for breaking the rules? And as I said, other events are starting to overtake this. For example, potential war in Ukraine. Unfortunately, I think Boris Johnson is going to get off the hook. There will be too many distractions. And he'll go ahead, as he has done before, and he'll remain in his position. I don't see Boris Johnson resigning over this. I don't see the enough support for forcing him out in the Conservative Party within the backbenchers. He's going to remain in his position. It's quite sad, it's quite depressing, but that's the reality. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.